Okay, so let's just dive right in. What does it actually take to build a business worth $1 billion? It's a number that sounds almost made up, right? But when you really break it down, there's a surprisingly clear path. And today, we're going to walk that path together. But first, let's get a quick dose of reality, because the numbers here are pretty wild. In the US, something like half of all new businesses fail within the first 5 years. And for the ones that actually make it, get this, less than 5% ever hit $1 million in sales. $1 billion? We're talking about a whole other galaxy. And you know, here's the thing that's super important to get right from the get-go. Most businesses don't get there, because they were never trying to. They set out to solve smaller, more local problems. You know, a great neighborhood coffee shop, a solid local marketing agency. And hey, there's nothing wrong with that. But $1 billion company doesn't just happen by accident. It has to be a conscious choice right from day one. So what does that journey actually look like? Well, when you really study the companies that pulled it off, you start to see a pattern. They all had to conquer these 8 specific challenges. So this is basically our roadmap for today, from that first little idea all the way to an enduring legacy. Okay, let's kick things off with part 1, building the foundation. This is all about going from that initial spark, that aha moment, to building something that can actually become a real, functioning, well-oiled machine. Everything, and I mean everything, starts right here. The potential size of your company is capped. It's limited by the size of the problem you decide to tackle. You just can't build $1 billion company solving a, $100 problem. It just doesn't scale. And yeah, this slide just lays it out so clearly. These companies didn't just make a tiny improvement, they went after huge, widespread frustrations that everyone felt. You look at Uber, right? The taxi industry was just awful, everywhere. Then there's Airbnb, which saw this huge disconnect between overpriced hotels and all these empty homes just sitting there. They went after enormous problems because they knew the solution would be enormously valuable. Okay, so finding a big problem, that's just the first step. Plenty of people see what's broken. The real magic, the secret sauce, is in the solution. You can't just be a little bit better. You got to create something that just completely rewrites the rules for that entire category. And what's so wild is the contrast here. I mean, think about it. Electric cars were around for a century before Tesla showed up, but they were these clunky, ugly, painfully slow golf carts, basically. A niche experiment. Tesla didn't just build a better electric car, they built a better car, period. It was so sleek, so fast, so superior, it forced the entire industry to play catch-up. So you've got a $1 billion problem and a category-defining product. You're set, right? Wrong. This is the graveyard for so many promising companies, because a great product without a way to actually get it into the hands of millions of people, well, it's just a really cool science project. And man, this quote just hits the nail on the head. We all think of Amazon as this giant store, right? But its real genius isn't the what, it's the how. They built this incredible machine, a network of warehouses and vans and drivers that became the storefront for the entire internet. That was the innovation. All right, on to part 2, assembling the engine. This is all about the internals. Once you've got something people are lining up for, how do you scale like crazy without the whole thing just, imploding?
So, as a founder, you hit this point where you realize, I can't be everywhere at once. I can't be in every meeting. So, how do you make sure the team makes the right calls when you're not physically in the room? The answer? Culture.
And let's be clear, culture isn't about ping pong tables and free snacks. It's a shared compass, a set of guiding principles. Just look at Google. Amazing products like Gmail and Google Maps, they weren't some top-down directive. They bubbled up from a culture that basically told its employees, go, experiment, build cool stuff. That's a culture that can scale. Every single fast-growing company hits this wall, where the initial excitement starts to feel a lot like, chaos. One missed email turns into a delayed shipment. And when you're huge, that one delayed shipment turns into 10,000 angry customers, like overnight. The only way to fight that chaos is with discipline and organization. It's called operational excellence. Yeah, I love this quote because it just gets to the core of it all. It's this idea of a relentless, almost obsessive commitment to quality. Think about a company like Sony, which built this legendary reputation because every single detail, from the circuit board inside a Walkman to how they cleaned their factories, was done to a world-class standard. Okay, so let's say you've done it. You're big, you're efficient, you're a well-oiled machine. Awesome. But guess what? You've also just painted a giant bullseye on your back for every competitor on the planet. So the question is, how do you protect yourself? And that right there brings us to challenge number 6. Building a competitive moat is exactly what it sounds like. Think of a castle, right? The moat is what keeps the invaders out. In business, it's some kind of unique advantage that makes it super hard for anyone else to copy you. And moats aren't one size fits all, as you can see here. For Amazon, it's that insane distribution network. Good luck trying to build that from scratch. For Apple, it's the ecosystem. Once you're in, with your iPhone and your Mac and your watch, it's just a pain to leave. For Google, it's their tech and just the mountains of data they have. The point is, a strong moat means you don't just win a customer, you get to keep them. All right, time for the final act. Part 3, securing the legacy. This is where a company makes the leap from being a great business to becoming an actual institution. You know, anyone can copy your features. Someone can always undercut your price. But a truly iconic brand, that's almost impossible to copy. And the companies that last forever, they get this. They're not just selling a thing, they're selling an idea, an identity. This slide just nails it. It's this idea of selling the thing behind the thing. Nike, they don't sell sneakers, they sell victory. Coke isn't selling you sugary water, they're selling happiness. And maybe the craziest example of all is Red Bull. They sell an energy drink by literally strapping their brand to adventure itself. And that leads us to the final and maybe the ultimate challenge of them all. This is the real endgame. It's when you become so tangled up in the very fabric of our daily lives that the world literally can't function without you. I mean, look at these titans. Apple isn't just a phone company. It's the company that holds our photos, our messages, our entire digital lives in its hands. Microsoft? Their software is the literal backbone of governments and the world's biggest corporations. And then you have companies you barely even think about, like Visa and MasterCard. They're the invisible plumbing that makes global commerce even possible. They're not just companies anymore. They're essential infrastructure. So, there it is, the 8 challenges on the road to $1 billion. It's a journey that starts with a simple choice, to tackle a huge problem, and ends, for very few, by becoming part of the foundation of the world itself. Which really only leaves one question for you to chew on.
El gossip a quem pode